Hey! So right now I'll be watching Castlevania Nocturne, episode 5. And I can't believe I'm finally just one episode away from the end of the first season, and that season 2 is already out, so I don't have to wait much longer to watch season 2. And besides that, I don't really have anything else to say, so now to the episode. Gotta be a cool scar though.
I hate that smell.
Hold still.
Are you this rough all the time?
I'm not a nurse.
Ouch! And it's only
Whoa. Oh, that's cool.
I've been trying to teach myself both.
Wow. Who's crying?
Saying she intends to keep the head.
Wow.
What she's planning to do with it.
Maybe nothing at all. Maybe just keep it as a memento.
Give her my condolences, will you? Tell her it's a shame. He will be missed. He was a loyal servant. And he has exquisite taste for soft furnishings.
Okay.
Are you?
Aw. Oh, she has really long hair.
No, I always liked that I could see it from here.
What, the city? The church?
When I first came to Moscow 17 years ago, I had nothing. The townspeople were suspicious of me, a foreigner.
Huh? Yeah.
I've never forgotten how much compassion they showed me at the Abbey.
Richter? Yeah, okay. I was wondering, I was like, is that Richter? You don't know that for sure, though. Oh, it's Annette.
I'm not upset. I'm furious.
I am.
Same difference.
We have to wait.
For what?
To regroup, to devise a new plan for the sun to rise, for Richter.
Olrox and Drolta are very powerful vampires.
Richter's coming back, and when he does, we'll find out what we can about Drolta and the night creatures. We need to understand our enemy to defeat them and to save Edouard. I'll only move if you tell me you're not going back to the Abbey tonight.
Fine.
Or the chateau.
Or the chateau.
Hmm.
I won't go inside.
Oh, God.
You're right. We'll need to understand our enemies to defeat them.
Now she listens to reason?
Be sure to keep out of sight. Olrox is the vampire who killed his mother. The dragon that's haunted his nightmares since he was a child.
We all have nightmares. The people with this mark, they're the people who know intimately how much freedom can cost.
You could have just opened the door.
If I'd let my past terrify me, I'd never be free of it.
Everyone's different. Oh, damn. Really close to her now. But it isn't very smart to go when she's at her most powerful at night. Go when there's sunlight. At least then she has less of a chance of hurting you. Night creature or Drolta? Olrox. You know, I was wondering how he feeds. I assumed he did a fancy, like the vampires in Chibi Vampire, in the wine glass.
Striking terror in the hearts of children, I see.
Damn.
I prefer my blood blue.
How is he still high when he's drinking blood? Okay.
I'm talking about the bellman.
And then again, so was Dracula.
Son of an old foe.
The soon-to-be. Maybe you do things differently in the new world. But over here, we don't feed off the wealthy.
My apologies. I didn't realize how invested you are in keeping the mortals happy.
I try. In between turning milk sour and stalking the nightmares of villagers. For now. making deals with them, feeding on peasants only in exchange for some influence among the aristocracy, enduring that man in the abbey in exchange for his night creatures.
Pretty interesting that they can't. Damn, he looks pretty.
Shouldn't you get back to the chateau?
It's pretty interesting how.
Where are you staying?
Oh.
There's an inn on the other side. It's good. Quiet.
Private.
I like it here in town. I like to keep my ear to the ground.
Not long now.
Before dawn.
They're luring her in.
Watching. The instant the sun comes up, some quality in the air changes.
We all feel it. It's dread. For a few hours, we're free of it. Imagine total freedom, never shrinking from light.
I don't waste my time imagining things that will never be.
But it will be, Olrox. Across Europe, vampires are pledging their allegiance to Erzbet Battery. Will you be next?
I've never been a believer of any kind.
Oh, okay, that answers that question.
Maybe I need to see to believe. I've heard she's very formidable.
Formidable, wonderful, a lioness, evil trembles before her. We've seen empires rise and fall, Olrox. Mortals are fickle.
She says his name differently.
They riot over bread, they flit from one god to another. I was a
True.
priestess of Sekhmet,
Oh, that's
the
cool. Egyptian.
goddess of war and vengeance. I remember the smell of mortal bodies on festival days. The incense. The fervor of
Okay, who turned them though? Who turned Drolta and who turned Olrox? And Ursabat for that matter.
Now those temples are half buried in dust.
He's got a point.
Their loyalty is just as fleeting.
Yeah, that's true too.
We endure. When that abbey in
Yeah,
this town
vampires are
was
constants.
steadily lurking in the shadows, looking for feeble loyalties amongst the mortals where we hope we may find them. Let's make a new world, Olrox.
You see, that's another one I've heard before.
And let's make it last.
I'm certain they can hear you breathing. Oh, damn. Oh, it's that guy.
Last time I saw you, you were with that mulatto boy.
Oh, damn.
Last time I saw you, you were a flying rat.
I find it interesting how the vampires are so strong.
You were born, tiny, squalling thing, with a neck like a wishbone.
I find it interesting how the vampires are so strong and yet they still can't control night creatures by themselves.
I've had your sister.
Oh, damn. Oh, that's pretty cool.
That smell? Burning flesh. You should know it well.
Oh,
I know the sound your mother made when she died. I
damn.
know the songs you and the other girls used to sing when you thought everyone was asleep.
How's that gonna help you right now?
Nightmares are made of. I'm sure you wake up some mornings with the smell of burnt sugar in the back of your throat and forget you ever left.
Damn.
That's because you're not free where it matters.
In her subconscious?
The brand on your forehead.
Born in chains to a woman in chains.
Not by choice.
Who look backwards and forwards and all they see are slaves. Elizabeth is a goddess. She drank the blood of Sekhmet.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Goddess.
Sekhmet is the daughter of Ra, a lioness. Her breath is like the desert wind. Elizabeth is coming with all of Sekhmet's power to restore all things. Elizabeth
Ugh.
will never be defeated.
Well, at least he finally dies. Oh, shit. Well, his death is certainly prolonged. Although, granted, it was warranted. Also, maybe because he was fighting it, and that's why it took so long. Neither god nor master. The French flag. It's that thing he wore in the poster. So no cool scar.
Emmanuel.
The habit. Oh.
I only came to talk. Are you hurt?
You came now to ask that?
You told me once that God had called your name, that he called you to fight evil.
I used to believe that, yes.
The cornerstones I built my life on are being toppled. Of course, that sounds romantic. Like everything you revolutionaries tout.
Damn.
Once you've razed this country to the ground, I wonder who will be left to rebuild. There's a woman in my parish, 82. She's been hobbling to communion every day of her life, and now her grandson has in the name of reason. Do you think when she wakes in the night, she'll cry reason, liberty into the dark to banish her terrors?
It's just one woman.
The barbarians are at the gate. To them, no one will be true enough or loyal enough. They will drench us all in blood. I'm building an army.
You know, I now know who he reminds me of. He reminds me of the voice actress for Queen Jonna in The Lion Guard. Same voice tone.
I've never been sinless, Tara. How many times does the entire course of history come down to the choice of just one man? Constantine, Charlemagne, me.
If your god is as powerful as you say, he doesn't need you to fight for him. You're not doing this for the sake of the church. You're doing this for the sake of your own vanity.
I've often thought about Judas.
Okay.
Traitor, turn goat. But what would have happened if he hadn't done what he did? Was the whole world saved because of one man's betrayal?
I guess you could look at it like that.
I wish I never met you.
If you hadn't met me,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have Maria.
Oh, well, that's a way to find out. She didn't know. She never told her.
You said my father was dead.
No, technically. In reality, you don't have a father. He didn't raise you. He's just sired you.
I will keep her safe.
Mm-hmm.
But the man over there says put it on his...
His grandpa, isn't it? Yes. Just. I mean, you could just go back to Maria and Tara and you could eat there. Does he not know that's his grandfather?
Well, you know what they say about a free dinner?
Do they say anything?
They say go back to where you came from and don't expect another one.
Oh, okay. I thought it was gonna be like a weird sexual innuendo.
Where the fuck is the old man?
Oh, shit.
Fuck another one. You swore the next time you saw my face in this village, you would kill me.
And you came to see if that was true?
Give it your best.
God. He doesn't have his whip with him. Oh. Oh, he took it from him. Damn. Ooh. Damn, even in his old age, he's still amazing.
Well, I guess this makes me a man of my word.
Yeah? Yeah, he fucked around and he found out.
It's a good thing I finished that.
If you can pay for your meals and carpentry...
Yeah, that too. I mean, come on, he could have done it in one blow. Probably.
You should have taken better care of him. I forgot how heavy that thing is. Too heavy.
Hey! Hey!
You're not the last of your line, technically,
I'm just
Victor.
supposed to be clever.
Huh?
What?
That's what Julia always said.
Who are you?
Your grandfather.
I'm Just.
Okay, juiced, then, not just. Juiced.
Belmont, your grandfather.
A lot of revelations this episode. It's gonna end like that? So like how I mentioned in the video, in this episode there's a lot of revelations being shown to not only the characters but to us as well. First and foremost, of course, is the fact that Ursabat isn't just your typical vampire. She allegedly drank the blood of not only people, but even the Egyptian goddess herself, Sekhmet. Which honestly is one of the reasons why I really like her. Not necessarily for that reason, although I do love Egyptian mythology, but I really love her design because it's very animalistic. And I just find that really cool because we don't see any vampires that look like her. We see a lot of diverse type of vampires, but we don't see any vampires that look inherently more monstrous than any others. They just look like much paler humans than others, and of course their fangs. So that's the first and honestly most interesting revelation to me. Next, of course, is what I already knew before, is the fact that the abbot is Maria's father. That's the second revelation. And then of course, the third one, and the final one being, that Just isn't just your typical old man. He's a Belmont. Julia's father, presumably to boot. So that's really cool that Richter, although he didn't know his grandfather for whatever reason, he finally got to meet him. And he's still alive. So honestly, it makes me wonder, are there more Belmonts out there than just Richter and Just? In actuality, what happened to his father? I never really thought much of Richter's father because I assumed he was just either descended from the Belmonts himself, or he was just the man who ended up marrying or getting together with Julia, similar with the Abbott and Tara situation where they got together long enough to have a child together and then maybe they just weren't in the picture. But maybe, and I'm just presuming here, maybe the reason why Julia killed Olrox's ex-lover is because they might have had, or at the very least, Olrox's ex-lover might have had a hand in killing Julia's husband or lover and Richter's father. Or who knows, maybe it was just a one-night stand, and that's why, in turn, Julia killed Olrox's lover, and then of course the cycle just continues where now Olrox has killed Julia, and then Richter wants to kill Olrox, and then probably Olrox wants to protect Mizrak, and etc. Or it could have just been a one-night stand, she ended up getting pregnant, and that was it. Since Richter never has once mentioned his father, or even thought of him really, all he thinks about is of course his dead mother, Julia. And I didn't necessarily think much of him either. It was just in one of the comment sections in one of the videos I was watching about this series, somebody mentioned the possibility of something having happened to Richter's father at the hands of Olrox's ex-lover, I believe. And that's what made me start thinking, that's true. Maybe that's the reason why. Maybe it isn't just the bloodlust or the family code of having to kill vampires, but maybe it was an act of justice in a way. I'll never not get tired of the trope of seeing an old man and then finding out that he isn't as old and feeble as he seems to be. He's actually pretty strong in his old age. And if anything, he's far better or superior than the younger generations. Another two examples being, of course, Master Roshi from the manga and anime series Dragon Ball, and King Bumi from the animated series and comic book series Avatar The Last Airbender. And it really goes to show that you shouldn't underestimate people based on appearances, because you never know what they're capable of. Like, you see an old man and you think he's weak, but in reality, or at the very least in cases of animes and TV shows, they can be far stronger than they seem. And even in real life too, but more in regards to wisdom in that sense. And although we didn't get to see much of him in this episode, we still got to see a great deal of Olrox again, so that always makes me happy. And I really wish I had a figure of him, but nobody wants to do him justice and make a figure of him. The ones that do cost like $80, and it's not coming out till May, and then once again, it's not the limited edition, it's just Olrox himself, which I'm fine with, honestly. But still, it'd be nice if there were more merchandise of him than the very limited amount that I can find. I really like how they seem to go the extra mile when it comes to sound design, because every time a character that has earrings or jewelry or whatever, you can always hear when Olrox moves, his earrings jingle. The same for Jolta. Her earrings make sound as well. So I really like that attention to detail that they have. I also like seeing Richter being by himself, seeing the world differently instead of just being in the forest or in Tara's home, and just being out and about by himself and seeing his reactions to other people, seeing his reactions to the 3 young girls that are part of the revolution, seeing him see the people be happy around him at the bar, seeing Just for the first time and just staring at him in awe as he fought and killed that vampire. I'm honestly surprised that Just and Richter never met, or at the very least that he was never around when Richter was young, because clearly Julia and him were still in contact because she told him that he was a smart boy. So clearly he knew of Richter's existence, and yet somehow he was never actively involved in his life, or at the very least would pop in every couple of years or at least a couple of months. Yet for some reason he wasn't, unless he was still traveling around and fighting off vampires, and he didn't want to bring any super strong vampires near his grandson and daughter. But besides that, I don't really see why he wasn't involved in Richter's life, at least up until this point. Why now? Why not after Julia died? I'm assuming he was told, or at least he knew to some extent, that she had passed. So why didn't he take him in? Was it just too dangerous for him to go with him? I'm assuming that hopefully I'll get some answers in the next episode. I'm also really liking the expansiveness of the mythology that's in this series. Because first and foremost, in the first episode, you get Aztec mythology with Olrox. Then you have Yoruba mythology with Annette. Christian mythology with the Abbot. And yes, I'm calling it mythology because I believe technically every single religion is a mythology. Think what you will, but that's what I think. And then now, Egyptian mythology with Ursabat. And I guess in some cases you could also say Russian mythology with Maria's mother, if I'm not mistaken, and she is Russian or some other type of ethnicity. I honestly did think that both Olrox and Jolta were leading Annette into a trap, because it seemed like they were just speaking so freely about harming Richter and their plans for the future and everything like that. I assumed they were just saying all that to try to get Annette's attention, have her follow them, and then also given the fact that she was breathing very heavily, I assumed they were just gonna not kill her, but at the very least entrap her, and then try to have Richter and the others go and try to save her and then kill them all at once. But it doesn't look like that's the case. It just looks like either one, they didn't care she was there at all and they were just talking, Or 2, maybe they honestly didn't take notice of her, but who knows. I also find it interesting that the abbot, although he himself is technically still a religious man, and he is of course called the abbot, he really questions his beliefs. Not at all like the bishop in the first series, who, although clearly he was not a man of God, he very much still believed he was in his delusion. But yet the abbot himself, he finds himself questioning things, he finds himself no longer believing in what he once believed in, he finds himself thinking of Judas and his betrayal, and I'm assuming he thinks of himself as a Judas, and his betrayal, although being a bad thing in the beginning, would eventually lead to some good in the end, because I guess since Judas's betrayal led to Jesus being crucified on a cross, and therefore him dying for people's sins, maybe in turn with the abbot doing this and aligning himself with the vampires, he will also be some sort of savior to humankind. Since in actuality, although wanting freedom for everybody is nice, it honestly does not seem to be entirely viable or a reality, because there will always be people who want to oppress or be above others. And although it's nice to try and cut the head or get rid of the people in charge so that in theory everybody can be free, that just doesn't happen. There will always be somebody else that takes the mantle and takes over for the one that has died, or will try to fill the vacuum that those in power left behind. 2 examples being from the Spider-Man game series, when the Kingpin was taken off to jail, you had all these other smaller gangs trying to fill the void and the vacuum that the Kingpin's power left behind, because although he was a really big mob boss and a really big nuisance, he kept all the other smaller gangs in line because they feared him. But yet, once he was taken to prison and he was no longer out there and able to terrorize the gangs, several of them tried to take over and try to fill the huge shoes that the Kingpin left behind. And the second example being, in the light novel manga anime series, The Rising of the Shield Hero, there is a similar case where, although the bow hero tries to free the people over an oppressive king who taxes them heavily, and for a small amount of time they were happy and free, eventually somebody else came along and taxed them even more heavily, to the point where they were all thinking that, the previous king wasn't as bad as we thought. He was actually a pretty good king, because now we have to deal with this new band of people around who taxes extremely heavily, and now we pretty much have nothing left to give. So it's really based on perspective, where what's good? Having a really strong person who you can somewhat keep in line and keep watch of, or have these smaller bands of people try to take charge and have it be worse off than you were before. Even if you have a very small amount of freedom in between, there will still be those who are in charge, whether you like it or not. It's just the way that humans are. And now finally I'm gonna be on the 6th and final episode of the first season, and I'm assuming that's when Alucard comes in, but who knows, maybe he doesn't come in till the 2nd season, but I really hope he comes out. I know what he looks like, so I'm not gonna be surprised at his brand new appearance, and I also know that at the very least what is people's belief is that the reason for his vastly drastically different appearance from the first series to this one is due to the fact that so many years have passed. I believe over 200 years, if I'm not mistaken, if not more or less. The reason why he looks so different is because his human cells have now died and he is now completely a vampire. He has nothing human necessarily left in him, which is similar in the comic and animated series Invincible when it comes to Viltrumites. Because yes, although for many years both Mark and Oliver share half the DNA with Viltrumite and half with another DNA type, over the course of the years the Viltrumite DNA will overpower the other DNA and they will eventually just become 100% Viltrumite. There will be no other half DNA within them. They will finally be just fully Viltrumites. So in that sense, it does make sense that if that's the case here as well, then after so many years, Alucard is finally a full vampire. Which is why he has such a drastically different appearance, because his human half has now died, and now he's fully, ethereally, as alluring as all vampires are. And now, having said all that, I can't wait to see what happens in the final episode.